today's race and qualifying session here for RWSRL. It is Tier 1, it's round 10, it is in Mexico, and here's all you need to know going into this Grand Prix near the end of this Season 6, I believe. So, Aussie currently still stands on top of the leaderboard, ahead of Weeksy, who's just behind in second place. Then Chris is third and goes on and on until the last place, which, unfortunately for him, stands with Cringe. And, well, the thing you need to know about Aussie and Weeksy, of course, Aussie being P1 and Weeksy being P2, if, you are wondering how this is going to turn out. Who's going to be where if this happens or this happens? Weeksy cannot attend today's qualifying considering he's on holiday. And I'm sure it's going to be a field day for Aussie to pick up some points here in Mexico. Unfortunately for him, it should be a stroll in the park for this championship battle, and if it's not going to be, then of course the door will still be open for potential artwork going into some of the last races of the season. This is already one of the last races of the season. The championship cannot be wrapped up today, cannot be done and dusted. We're going to have to go on into the next one and then Abu Dhabi. So there would be no end to a fantastic title fight. Fantastic title fight. There will be no end to it. So don't you worry about today. If you are wondering if it would end, if history ends today, it won't. And, well, it should be pretty easy for Aussie to pick up the points, which are so desperately needed going into Brazil next week. But also for constructors, speaking more about points, for the constructor standings, what we have currently lined up for them is that the Aston Martin are still in the lead of that constructors fight, with Red Bull narrowly behind with only a 22-point gap between them. Then goes Mercedes, Alpine, AlphaTauri, McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Williams, Ferrari and Haas. So Aston Martin on top of the constructors. That could shift with Red Bull potentially taking top spot. Speaking of Red Bull, they've had a good campaign up to now from Netherlands. Inkstar, he's around 6th inside of the standings. He's kind of midway. And, well, he's going to have to push himself to the limits if he wants to close down that gap to Aston Martin at the top. But the facts that overrules the facts in which I will state in this stream is that Weeksy cannot attend the Mexican Grand Prix. So you might be wondering, well, what are the facts about Mexico? What is key about this specific track and why it's so important to many across the world? It's a 4.304 kilometre track and has 17 turns. It's got the longest straight out of all the F1 tracks, and it makes for some plenty overtaking spots and DRS points inside of the Grand Prix. So this is why this is such a historic track, Mexico, and this is why it's even been put on the calendar in the first place. This is going to make up for some great racing content. I'm sure we'll see plenty of battles between plenty of teams. And I'm sure we will see a banging race for today's or tonight's stream. We will be loading in very soon. I want to talk about Depth Knights real quick. He won, I believe, in Monza last round. I think he won in Netherlands as well. So Depth Knight's really pulling, scraping the bottom of the barrel, really getting the key and valid points near the end of the season. Maybe overruling the championship battles with Aussie and Weeksy, in which he has interfered with quite a bit of in this season. He's also ahead of his teammate Inkstar, so he's a force to be reckoned with. He's 5th in the championship, very close to not only 4th but 3rd. And well, if these last 2 races are to go off of, he will most likely win this Mexican Grand Prix. And if we're going to go on recent form in terms of last Grand Prix, which was held at Monza, Aussie crashed out of that race, which allowed the 1 point gap between him and Weeksy to be there in the first place. So Aussie is truly going to have a stroll in the park. He has a clear point of view into what he's going to have to do into this Grand Prix. And if Chris Towns is able to push himself up the order, then that would mean that he would get into P2 as well. So this could potentially mean that Weeksy's battle... would Weeksy's battle be done and dusted here? I don't think it would. 25 points next to none. That was 26 points. So with 2 races to go, 26 points is a gap that can be closed down. So no matter what happens today, Weeksy will not be out of the championship fight. He will still be battling it out with Aussie, no matter what happens today. But the question is, what will happen today? Is there going to be another dramatic crash by Aussie himself? Or is it to be what we always think and what we always rumour? But sometimes in RWSRL, it's just not always the way we predict it to be. Goes off script, and that's what we love about it. Now we await the short qualifying session in Mexico. 17 minutes long, or around 17 minutes long. 17 minutes of laps to set off and form and shape and mould the grid going into the Mexican Grand Prix. We've got 25 seconds. And these drivers are going to make sure they can get the most out of this moment to just calm the nerves going into this one. A huge day for Aussie to expand the gap and to potentially expand the gap in the constructors as well. Aussie here could have a championship trophy by the next race. And the easiest way to get points into the next one is to get points into this one. So Aussie, here in Mexico, pressure is on him. We now wait for the last few drivers to eventually join the lobby. We have a full 20, I assume. I think we're just missing one. There we go, the first car coming out of the pit lane. We just about missed it. I think that was Game Changer, that is. It is Game Changer. And Game Changer himself, he hasn't had a particularly good season. He's only got 15 points on the board. He is 13th in the championship. That is out of the 20 that have been performing around every track we've set out to go on. So he's kind of mid-table, mid to low table. And it would be quite a shift in motion if he was to be able to get anywhere near pole. Would be an underdog story, but can he write that story? And can he perfect the story? We will have to see, as he will be the first person to start a Mexican lap. Let's see if he can be a game changer in these last couple of races. He will set the standard, which everybody has to meet. And most likely will meet. Can he set the standard high? So here we go then. He has started his lap here in the AlphaTauri. This massive straight, of course, the main straight. Look how far it is. Makes up for some plenty. Overtakes with DRS wide open. And then going into the first turn. Just wanted to stay close to the curb like he's done brilliantly there. And he's done it again. Oh, a little bit of a spin there. The back end almost lost itself on the map and almost spanned the AlphaTauri. He's able to keep it under control now as he goes through into this section, this sector 2. Going into this double right-hander here. And now going into the S's of Mexico, something that I always mess up. I'm sure none of our drivers are anything like me, which is a definite good thing. And that, as you can see right there, he perfects the S's and going into the last few turns here, the last crucial turns in Mexico. He will tie off this lap time and we will see what time this lap is. He's going to finish sector 3. What is the time that he's going to set? 1:17.8. Who's going to match that as we see Codfish now drift around the last few turns in his lap? General Jake, though, instantly steals top spot for now. Codfish here goes slow. He made a mistake. Backer pulling himself up to P2. He is a actual reserve, and he's only got 2 points on the board in his old season that he's actually raced. And now Detmont's in P2 with a 1:16.6. Callum with a 1:16.4. General Jake, though, still keeping top spot here in the Haas. And with a 1:16.39. He is leading the way so far. Aussie just starting his lap. Codfish going to come into the pits at the end of his lap. Ink now just carrying it out through sector 1. We've got another shift in the leaderboard. Who's come up next? I think that's Anthony with the 1:23.4. Definitely a lap which he could improve on and has to improve on, really. But we're going to go on board with the real game changer, as I should say. And his driving so far has been superior to the rest. Will that stay the same in Mexico? Being steady on the throttle there. Making sure you don't want to spin in that double right-hander. Now drifting through sector 2. There's still no shift into the top spot so far into this qualifying session. Now he goes around the last few turns here in sector 3. What can Aussie perform? Touching the curbs just a little bit. Is he going to be faster than Jake? Just needs 1:16.38. Gets a 1:16.9. That puts himself P5. So compared to the rest, definitely not becoming on top. Oh, there's Anthony. A great lap from him. He's able to improve rapidly on his previous lap time. 1:16.4 for him. He jumps up into P3. James P starting his lap right now. Let's see what this Alpine can form here in sector 1. Into that first turn, right in the curb, taking a lot of curb into that turn. And didn't lose the back end like Game Changer almost did through that turn. So James, we saw in Singapore with him, he did go for a different strategy and was near the top spot. In fact, he was at the top spot for quite a while until, of course, rain came in at Singapore and then he had to pit. Then he dropped way down the order. So he's clearly got the bravery to do some odd stuff on track. And, well, that's very odd. He's got an invalid lap time for it. And, oh! Well, I don't know if that's brave or stupidity. Might be both. But James, invalid lap time and also a spin. Brad here on an out lap. So is Game Changer. I believe Codfish is as well. Codfish will be closest to the line than all of the rest. So let's see what Codfish can perform here. DRS Open, of course, going into that first lane. I want to take some curb on the inside. Will Codfish do that? Right on the curb. Take a bit of inside curb. Once more, and again. Almost getting it out of the lines there. Still though, Codfish in the Ferrari. Of course, Ferrari being P9 in the standings out of P10. Oh, out of 10. Oh, purple first sector there from Codfish, so he's doing really well so far. The Ferrari. This could really get up there with General Jake's time. Codfish almost gets the same invalidation like we saw with James P, drifting and sometimes hovering around those S's. Now he's going to enter Sector 3. Doesn't get purple for his second sector attempt here. Now, last few turns. What's it going to be? Did get that purple first sector. Will he get a purple lap as a whole? Is it going to be better than a 116.3? What's Codfish going to perform? It's definitely not going to be a 116.3. It's rather a 116.83. So that beats out Aussie, of course. Brad now on his lap. So let's go on board with him. He's got purple first sector, so seems like that first sector is quite weak. And for many drivers to spot out there, so we see him going by. So the question is, we know that Sector 1 is most likely going to be beaten. The question is about that Sector 2. There is Brad. Same. Oh my word. That's what I do on the S's. It's what Brad has done. So, makes a mistake in those S's, and it's been crucial for his lap time. Let's take a look at Harry's lap time. I think a little bit of a lock up there as he went to turn 1. I mean, of course, I'm not the best driver in the world, but I think I managed to spot that out. He now goes on the DRS. Now making these turns to Sector 1. 28.7, so that's not a purple first sector, so this really doesn't look like a good time for Harry. It is his first lap time in which he will perform. We'll take a look at Remix here as he's about to tie off his lap, and it is just about quicker than Harry. So here comes Remix. I think DJ Flux has messed something up then. They were going slow, just letting people go by. So he messed up his lap, but has Remix messed up his? Now going to tie off his lap. What's it going to be for him? 117.3, definitely not as good as the rest. That puts him up into P, I believe that was 9? Yes, it was 9. Where's Harry going to put himself? Depth Knights though! Steals top spot, steals the spotlight. Had pace in Netherlands. Had pace in Monza. Now, so far, he has pace in Mexico. Chris down to the 122.3. Kalaka with his lap. But Depth Knights on provisional pole. And can he see this pole out until the rest of the qualifying session? You can see there, Kalako, unlike the rest of the drivers, will usually ride that curb going into the double right-hander. He opted not to. I'm sure that's what Depth Knights did on his lap too, gaining the amount of time to, of course, take that top spot. Brilliance from the Red Bull. Is it going to be brilliant from the McLaren? Purple second sector. So this is so far going well for James Kalako. Is he going to just about get pole? Is he just about going to get pole with 5% of battery left? Now hovering at 6%. Steady on the throttle in the last turn, and that's not going to be good enough despite the purple second sector. 117.5 isn't bad though. It's going to earn him a P10. Definitely not as good as the rest. As now we see Maka here, 2/10 off his previous lap time. That's DJ Flux flying straight into the lead. Silver arrows. One of them has arrowed himself up into P1. DJ Flux has the pace to go toe-to-toe with Depth Knights. But does Jake have the time to go toe-to-toe as he goes on his lap? So Jake here wants to improve on his lap time to about a 10th to try and get above DJ's time, Mr. Flux, with an astounding lap time of a 1:16.2. Depending on whether Jake can be superior to that time, it most certainly would look like that DJ Flux will be pole. But can Jake just improve on his time? He's 77 thousandths off of his previous. So, there you go. Right on that curb, like I was talking about, that James Kalako didn't. So, General Jake into the S's. Is he going to spin like Brad? Almost did there. But Jake nevertheless goes on. Purple second sector. He's got 4 thousandths off of his previous lap time. Really has to do everything he can. Pedal to the metal. Up until the line. Round the last turn. Where's he going to put himself on the map? It's not even an improvement. 8 thousandths off of his time. So no improvement there for General J, because now we see Codfish on his lap time. Sorry. I might do that a few bits there. Just, you know. Not particularly well. And Codfish not performing particularly well. Breaks his front wing. Smashing himself straight into the wall there. So, yes, again, another Ferrari making another mistake. Callum hasn't really made a mistake that I have seen so far. I think it's just mostly Codfish, either spinning or crashing. Crange, bottom of the table, of course, in the driver's standings. Any points he could pick up would certainly benefit him. This lap from General Jake definitely has not been good, and well, that just explains it really. In lap time. So now, many people on the out lap. This man is the one I want to watch though. Compared to the rest, he's been slow. But you know he's quick. Got an out lap. I'm wondering if that McLaren ahead, I think that's James Kalako. He's also on an out lap as well. So both of these men on an out lap, they're going to be on the exact same flyer lap. The exact same time. Is James Kalako going to let Aussie go? Or maybe, is he going to put an interference with Aussie's lap here? James Kalako. What's he going to do? He's just keeping him behind. I mean, he's giving him slipstream, to say the least. You can see how close he was to the McLaren there. They're both in an out lap. A dive down the inside there from Aussie, making sure that James Kalako is waved goodbye, and he has been waved goodbye. So this lap will no longer be disturbed, and no McLaren will be in front of him. And Aussie. What lap is he going to set here as he manoeuvres his car for a second time around Mexico? This might be the last lap he's going to perform in this qualifying session, so it has to be a good one. You can see, it's just going on the throttle a tiny bit too early there. You can hear that spike up in his throttle. It was straight up and then straight back down. This lap, 1 second off of his previous. Aussie. This has been an awful time from him. Mexico maybe not being one of his strong points. There'll be a flourish of other drivers setting their laps as well. So maybe, just maybe, he will drop down to 10th outside of the points going into the Grand Prix. If there was any person I would probably point out to do that, I'd probably choose Brad. 1.7. Aussie has had an awful lap time. So we're going to shift it over to Brad here, who's got an improvement on a 10th or so. Oh no, an 11 seconds on. I was going to say 135.7 isn't necessarily a good time. No, it was just a little bit of a glitch. He has got 11 seconds off. Is it going to be faster than Aussie? It is! It definitely is! And Aussie drops down to 11th because James Kalako at the same time has overqualified the same driver. And Aussie, outside of the points, going into the Grand Prix, is he going to be 12th on the grids as Inkstar starts his time. Remix as well, so there's going to be a flourish of new drivers setting their laps. And Aussie so far, I think it's fair to say, he's had a stinker. DJ Flux though, he's going to be on a lap when he crosses that line. I know it looks like at the top left it doesn't say out lap, but look at the top right. There's no way he's doing 4 minutes on a lap. So DJ Flux crosses across the line and starts his Mexican lap. So far, he is fastest. Will he keep the title of fastest? Oh, all of a sudden, Aussie! Out of nowhere, the Aston Martin flying up to P1. And now, this is well worth watching. Is Aussie going to keep on pole in the last remaining seconds here in qualifying? At the last second, he got P1. Can he keep the P1? He's only around 20 hundredths there. Oh, Callum sweeps in for P1. So no, the answer is there's going to be no Aussie pole for today. That would have been his first pole ever for this season if he was to keep that pole. But he hasn't. And the Ferrari of Callum has been able to over-qualify him. And he, right now, is P1 into the Grand Prix. DJ Flux with invalid lap time. General Jake still in P4. Brad here. I don't think he's going to improve that much on his time. Of course, 2 minutes on the clock. Chris Downs here. We're really stretching to see who can do it. Aussie hasn't been pushing for this. But compared to what he was before, 11th place, he will definitely take P2. It's only Chris Downs, his teammate, who could even overqualify him, and he hasn't really overqualified himself. And, like I said, out of completely nowhere, Aussie put himself on pole, but it was quickly snapped away by the sly fox of Callum. Red Ferrari is all we're going to see on the front row. Well, red Ferrari is what we're going to see at the top at the front row. Green right next to it. And Callum, at the last straw, is on pole in Mexico. There you go then. Sorry. Well, then you go then. That was a qualifying session and a half. We saw in Monza a very, very entertaining qualifying session. This might not be as entertaining, but it was certainly exciting with red on top as Callum quickly snuck in pole. Aussie P2. I'm DJ Flux P3. That's the podium positions for the Mexican Grand Prix. What's the drama going into the race? It's only live once on Twitch. Let's see what happens. What drama will unfold? What is going to be the written script? And who will come out on top? We're going to find out very, very shortly. And now the formation lap will commence. And the grid goes as follows. Callum, P1 at the very end of that qualifying session. Aussie, P2. DJ Flux, P3. General Jake, P4. Depth Knights, P5. Macca, P6. Inkstar, P7. Brad, P8. Anthony, P9. Chris Towns, P10. Codfish, P11. James Kalako, P12. Game Changer, P13. James, P14. Remix, P15. Cringe, P16. Harry, P17. JJ, P18. Ragnar, P19. And finally, Cyclone, with a lonely P20. Why has he done that? I won't know. But I do know that this was a disappointing qualifying session, or was a disappointing qualifying session, I should rather say, until the very end, where Aussie got that P1. He held it in his hands, but quickly it was stolen. Like the old saying, like stealing candy from a baby, Callum was able to just about get that pole position right at the scruff of his neck, the skin of his teeth, and he will just about lead the way. Going into the latter stages of this season, these are the key races. I will go over this championship standings again. So Aussie P1 in standings, Weeksy P2. That is a 1 point gap. Weeksy not able to attend this race though, as he is actually in the country of France. But Aussie, this is the perfect time to increase that gap to the top spot. If he is able to get a win today, it will be a 26 point gap going into Brazil. And from what happens there, will have to be waited out and prolonged until next week. But what matters is now, and right now, it's very key for Aussie to win this Grand Prix. But will he get this victory? Here we go then. Red lights are forming. 5 red lights. Green lights, go, go, go. Here for the Mexican Grand Prix here in RWSRL. And you can easily see Aussie with a great stop, and DJ Flux flying through with 5 wide onto the straight. What am I seeing here? This is beautiful stuff. Chris Towns P1, people dropping down the order. We're still 4 wide going into the first turn here in Mexico. What have I just seen? Down the inside though, 3 wide going into this chicane kind of situation here. Side by side Aussie is with General Jake now sneaking up behind Callum. He's looking for the overtake on the man who was previously P1, but Chris Downs on that straight made it 5 wide and was able to just fly through and follow through for that P1. And Aussie now has just overtaken Callum. Around the outside he went. General Jake follows suit, and so far so good for Chris Towns and Aussie. It's all green on top spots here in Mexico. But oh my, 5 drivers. 5 drivers on the straight there down the inside. We saw there from Aussie. Almost missed that. Aussie up into P1 though. Just what he needs down the inside. Chris looks to defend against General Jake as he's looking for that overtake. Is he going to get the overtake? I don't think he will. And you can see there DJ Flux, I believe that is, round the outside. He went on Callum. Is he going to make the overtake stick? He cannot find a way to keep it stick, and he's now being hunted here by Macca. But now onto the straight. This is where it's so key for people to just have that straight line speed. You can see Macca here getting very close to DJ Flux. Surely a battle will follow suit here. The Alfa Romeo looking for that overtake on DJ Flux. These drivers very skillful, and now we might be 3 wide here between Callum, DJ and Macca. We are 3 wide with them. They're all on hard set compounds, and I think DJ Flux followed through with the better overtake, but there goes the AlphaTauri, Game Changer, straight through into P5. Wow, just about, oh my word! Was P5 and is now out of the Grand Prix. My oh my, what an entertaining start here in Mexico. And And a safety car, I think, has been brought out. It might just be a VSC. I think it is just a VSC. But that crash from Game Changer was a big one. That, you know, dead corpse of the AlphaTauri is now ingrained in my mind. Jesus Christ. But the importance so far in this Grand Prix has to be said is that Aussie is looking like he will win this Mexican Grand Prix. I know it's the third lap of 36, but usually when Aussie's P1, he keeps P1. We've seen 5 wide, we've seen 3 wide, maybe 7 wide, but I've never seen 5 wide between 5 drivers ever in my life. That is just unbelievable as we go green in Mexico once more. I'm assuming Chris Downs is just going to have to battle off people behind. As you can see, Ragnar with an overtake here on the different AlphaTauri, the one who hasn't crashed, of course. And, oh, big spin, big connection, another. Big moment here for 2 drivers, and Ragnar falls down the order after that spin. Came together with Anthony. Luckily, no crashing involved with an AlphaTauri at that point. You can see James Calico, though. The different McLaren looking to go round the outside, and oh, you can see the Williams flying through there. That's cringe. He's last on the leaderboard. As now we see a double battle almost. Yet again, Harry with a 3-second though. And Cringe and Remix both in P14 and P15. Chris Downs sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, clearly showing what he's got. Now we're going back onto this straight. Is there going to be another 5 wide? I have to ask the question. General Jake just behind, of course. Maka with an overtake down the inside of DJ Flux. How's this one going to pan out? These two have battled before. Are they going to battle again? I don't think there is really any battle between the two. I think it's just a clean sweep overtake there by Maka. Done and dusted. Jake. No, sorry, DJ Flux. Couldn't really do anything about that one. Clean sweep manoeuvre. And, well, the Game Changer was cleanly swept into the wall. Something that he will most likely want to forget. But I can imagine right now, Weeksy just watching this Grand Prix, just thinking to himself, God, please Aussie, just crash out. Callum here with a close gap between him and Depth Knights up front. Callum started P1, is now in P7. Aussie setting the fastest lap. Maka cleanly. Make sure that's his though. And now onto the straight, we're going to see Callum go toe-to-toe here with Depth Knights. Or are we? Maybe just that straight line speed isn't enough for the Ferrari. Is he going to go for the move anyways? I would be very surprised if he did, and he doesn't. Ragnar though, with an overtake here on Codfish, just on that straight, just has too much speed for the Ferrari to handle here, but still the Ferrari battles with it. Almost a connection between the two. And you can see the AlphaTauri now of Anthony now in the mix. But now you can see just the battling up ahead. Now Callum finally has caught up with Depth Knights, now going side by side. Oh! Big moment between the two. And the Ferrari luckily escapes from dropping down too many positions. Depth Knights not the same though. He drops down to P15 after that contact. Not something you want to see here, but Brad going toe-to-toe here with Ink. Ink comes out on top through the S's. Brad, though, still looking to come right back at him. Into this one now. James P with an overtake here. You can see on that straight. You can see James Calaco and Depth Knights going toe-to-toe. Anthony getting very close here to Codfish, but now finally has to back away. Codfish was in 3 seconds. Oh! Another big crash involving Callum there. Loss of the front wing. That is going to be a VSC, or is that full course? It's a full course safety car for that one. I don't know how on earth that's a full course. But poor old Game Changer's crash was not. But, folks, you might usually think that, oh, forecourt safety car, are you joking me? Come on now. I didn't want that. Certainly, around Mexico, you do want a forecourt safety car because, of course, that straight, that massive main straight definitely makes up for some very interesting overtakes. So, maybe we'll go 6 wide. I mean, I have to bring that up again. 5 wide. I will never see that ever again in my life. I will never see it ever again in my life. That is unbelievable. Just insane. And Callum, despite being the last man, will meet the safety car first. He waves him goodbye. But every single car is just lightly bunched up. They're just all bunched up. So this safety car should get underway pretty quickly here, unless someone dives into the pit lane. And Aussie has dove into the pit lane. 5-second time penalty for Aussie for speeding in the pit lane. That's a huge penalty. And Aussie needs to focus. Because he does not want to miss out on a victory, which will definitely see him with a 26-point gap to Weeksy. I think loads of people followed suit with those penalties. Let's take a look here. 3 seconds for Codfish, 3 seconds for Harry. But for Aussie, poor Aussie, the only one with a full-on 5. That is certainly not going to do him any favours. His main objective right now is to just get right there with Chris Towns. Maybe he gets ahead of Chris. Chris just battles and fends off Jake like he has done so far, but this time to the extreme. Just so that 5-second gap can be just about built up. I would say it was a miracle, but let's be honest, Aston Martin have been really, really strong this season. And they might just pull another miracle. I will call it a miracle. They might just call another miracle off. They might just pull it off. So, let's see what happens on the restart on the safety car. I'm assuming everybody will be caught up very quickly. I mean, when you have 5 seconds from a safety car, that's worse when you can get it because everyone's bunched up. So, technically right now, I mean, Aussie, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where he's going to end up at the end of this Grand Prix now. I mean, if he didn't have the 5 seconds, I would be like, P1, easy. Easy. Let's go back into the pit lane to serve it, though. Don't speed in the pit lane now. Good boy. But, Aussie diving back into the pit lane, serve the penalties, would be the best time to do so under the safety car. I'm assuming... Oh, no, he's going back onto the mediums. All right, so maybe the strategy of being on the hards is not what he wanted to do anyways. And what has James P just done? You can see his car right up ahead here. My oh my, what did James P do? James P's out. Aussie's now 16th, back of the grid. This Mexican Grand Prix has just shaken up to the extreme. But out of all of it, the teammate of Aussie, Chris Towns, is on top. Looks to keep his throne of being on top until right at the very end, unless Aussie does come back with him. I mean, imagine if Weeksy was in here. I mean, then we would get a real good battle, but it's all about just keeping P2 now for Weeksy, and right now I don't think he would do it. Hold on. No, actually, Weeksy would be P2 in the standings right now if Chris Towns was to win it. So, not very good for Weeksy, of course. In fact, I think Chris Towns would go top of the standings if he was to win this. So, Chris, maybe he won't let Aussie go through. Maybe he wants to get involved in this championship battle. What has General Jake done as he's falling all the way down the order? Let's quickly swift over to him. Span on the restart. DJ Flux hasn't, and look at the speed he's got on Maka here. Surely he'll opt for the overtake. Looks to go round the outside of Maka once more here. I hate that camera angle. I love this one, though. And oh, you can see a little bit of spin there from the Mercedes, which is the reason why he goes. But a switchback maneuver could be pulled off here by DJ Flux to pull himself up into P2. I think that's just what he's about to do here, but they're still side by side going into the next turn here, entering Sector 2. And I think the Mercedes has pulled it off. Another switchback though being performed? No. DJ Flux now finally has P2. But at what cost, considering the fact that he's 2 seconds behind Chris Downs? Chris Downs, currently top of the leaderboard. Depth Knights with an overtake on Anthony. And they're still going side by side here until Depth Knights redrives the track. He could be 3 wide here into the next turn between Anthony, Callum and Depth Knights. There we go. Oh, Depth Knights has to back out that one. Does not want to go 3 wide. He'll allow the two to battle. Maybe he will be on the back of something special here. Aussie could be favourable here for an overtake. Would be very key for him to go up the leaderboard very early on here. They're still side by side going on to this massive main straight here. Aussie and Depth Knights. So Aussie getting a position for now. Depth Knights now with a slipstream, so he's going to come straight back at him. Just see how much slipstream gives you on that straight there. It's now going into the first turn. Down the inside goes Depth Knights on Aussie. And Aussie shuts the front door pretty much instantly. It's just ahead. You can see Callum and Anthony battling it out. Where is Aussie going to end up in the end of this? Anthony looks to go round the outside. Callum defending the inside lane. They're still side by side. This is great battle between the two. And then there we go. There's Aussie. Double overtake here. 3 wide. Potentially, no, 2 wide. It was only Callum that backed out of that. And had to, really. And Aussie with definitely the better outcome of that. Oh, look at that. Maka out. Straight to the wall there. That's another safety car. And with that, Aussie's back into the points. So right now, he'd still be top with those 2 points. Very key 2 points. So he'd still be top by only 1 point to Chris Towns, his teammate. And Chris Towns now pitting. He doesn't get 5 seconds. Codfish also pitting. So Chris Towns is going to be behind Aussie, which means Aussie would definitely still keep his position in the leaderboard right now. I'm sorry, I sometimes like to do that. Just I don't know what it is. I just like doing it. It's kind of funny to me. But I mean, what have we seen so far? Maka with a massive crash into the wall there. But that battling between Callum, Anthony, Depth Knights and Aussie was absolutely beautiful. Just, it was around here. They were side by side. Aussie had a better exit. Through goes Aussie, as Crofty would put it. And then he went side by side with Anthony through that turn. And then eventually he was able to finish off the move around here. Cringe, by the way. Last in the leaderboard, he's 20th with 0 points. Could he get his first 15 here? Would be quite an achievement to get. Would be right on level with Game Changer. Of course, Game Changer, DNFing, unfortunately, from this Grand Prix. So it would definitely be big points, big valuable points for Cringe here if he was able to keep this P3. Now, everyone is bunched up. Is the safety car going to dive into the pit lane here? I don't know. No, Jake is still 8 seconds behind, so definitely not. 1 more lap to go then with the safety car. But we've already had, was that 3 safety cars? 2 safety cars? 2. I think. 2. But it has distracted the entertainment that we've already got. Just, the battling around here is unbelievable. But yeah, again, it's one of those. I mean, it's stuffy nose. I hate stuffy noses, especially when I'm commentating. That's That's when it goes the worst. But General Jake here, he was P3 earlier on in the race. He now sits a lonely and disappointing by his point of view, a P13. So, is he going to climb up the order? We'll have to see. Chris Downs as well, P11 after pitting, but that's understandable. So, we'll see if General Jake can push himself up the order even more. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap. And this lap will come to an end. And safety car, there we go. The race control have said safety cars in. And DJ Flux will lead the way, of course. The other Mercedes driver, the teammate of Weeksy. But that's overshadowing of what he's done this season. He has picked up some really good points. He's P7 in the championship, very close to Inkstar. And a win right here would put him, I believe, above Inkstar. I'm not too sure, though. So now, DJ Flux leads the way here onto the straight. Oh, he doesn't anymore! Big spin from DJ Flux, and Ink inherits the lead now. As Cringe looking to close that gap down here. He's now into P2. Go on, lads. Ragnar looking for an overtake on James Kalako. His teammate, of course, looking to go potentially down the inside. Aussie just behind. Where can he benefit off of this battle between the two McLarens? You can see he's just edging him here. Down the inside. Depth Knights will go here on Aussie potentially. You can see the two McLarens battling up ahead. Oh, wing damage. Wing damage. I believe that is for Callum. Who was it? I think, is that Aussie? Did Aussie get that wing damage? He might have. We saw a little chunk of wing fly off. That's not Aussie's wing. Is that James Kalako's wing then? Not James's either. Mystery piece of wing flying off. Whose is that wing then? I'm very invested to see who it is, but Aussie with an overtake on James Kalako, so he's really now climbing up the order. With each overtake, it hurts Weeksy's heart, or making his heart weak. Depth Knights looking for an overtake here on James Kalako. Within 2/10. Won't look for it down the inside there, but just behind you can see this battling between Anthony and Codfish here. And Codfish with an easy overtake. General Jake flying through there into P11. And James Kalako, look how close he's getting here to Depth Knights. Sorry, no, to Callum here. He was very close to Depth Knights. And now Callum looking for an overtake of his own round the outside on that last turn. That's a great overtake from him. He moves up into P7. But that gap's going to quickly disintegrate as the speed of the slipstream. Will it benefit? No, it won't. Anthony's retired from the session. I think that's in the pit lane. Chris Town's going to serve his 5 seconds. Harry's got another 3 seconds. Inkstar, though, in the midst of this, is still leading the way. DJ Flux with that spin off of the restart of the safety car. Definitely not what he benefited from, and Harry was looking for a cheeky switchback. He won't get that little switchback. Just an overtake there from DJ Flux. He's looking to move well up the order after that massive mistake on the safety car. But you can see Brad here up into P3. He is also P4 in the standings, looking to get closer and closer to Chris up ahead. Aussie low, look at the speed he's got here on Ragnar. Surely the overtake will be performed very soon. Potentially on this straight. Maybe Depth Knights could get on the end of this. Maybe Depth Knights could get double slipstream. Oh, just lightly taps. I mean, I wouldn't even say lightly, really, from Depth Knights there. Just a full-on bang. I don't think he got any wing damage from that. DRS enabled as well. So, Callum's flying through here. He's got another overtake. This time on Depth Knights. He's looking to get an overtake here now on Aussie. Aussie's looking for the overtake on Ragnar, maybe down the inside. No, not going to be down the inside. Codfish with an overtake here on James Kalako. James Kalako, though, still looking to keep this interesting. Oh, big connection between Codfish and James Kalako, and James Kalako in the grass and having to wave some of the cars goodbye. Aussie, though, looking for the overtake here on Ragnar. A bit of a squeeze from Ragnar, though, as he's trying to defend this position. Round the outside, now down the inside. Ragnar pushed off the track. Trying to go round the outside. 3-second time penalty for Ragnar off of that. And Aussie comes out on top. He's up into P4. He's climbing up the order bit by bit by bit. And eventually, he'll work his way towards Brad. But speaking of Brad, he is looking to get the overtake on the Williams of Cringe, but Cringe so far, he's actually stuck to Inkstar. That 3 seconds for DJ Flux definitely not going to help him with picking drivers bit by bit by bit up the order. Is he going to get the DRS though? Let me see here. Is the DRS going to be enabled? Has he got the DRS? He certainly hasn't. So just about no DRS. DRS though for Brad here on the straight. He's going to rapidly catch up to Cringe, but not enough as we go into that first turn there. You can see Callum here yet again looking to battle with somebody else. General Jake here looking to go down the inside. No. Opts out of it. Harry with an overtake on James Kalako. Switchback manoeuvre here by James though. Round the outside of Harry. Harry moves down into P11. Maybe another cheeky switchback though. And it is another cheeky switchback. So switchback after switchback. And these two are going at it here for P10. This would mean a point. Of course. A valuable point by any means. And now you can see Brad getting very close here to Cringe. Looking for this overtake when he can. This brings Aussie into the equation as well. This is going to be close to who comes out on top between the three. Cringe so far will lead the way. You can see Aussie though just behind. Maybe down the inside? No, he's not going to go for it. He had that DRS into that turn here. This has brought Ragnar into the equation as well. I know it doesn't really matter because Ragnar has those 3 seconds. But nevertheless, he can cause an occurrence. Here onto the straight now. DRS for Aussie. DRS for Brad. What's going to happen at the end of this? But you can see Ragnar here. His speed might just be supreme. Deathmatch for 3 seconds here. Ragnar could look to go around the outside here. Does look around the outside. You can see though Brad looking for a move on the inside. We're just looking at the view here of Ragnar. Maybe a switchback for Ragnar. He's got the DRS open. The switchback has been performed by the McLaren. And now Brad is looking for that overtake down the inside. He goes here. Of the, I would say, inexperienced Cringe. Ragnar and Aussie, though, still going at it. This has brought Callum now into the equation. Ragnar on top. Could Callum just benefit off of this? He can't. And Aussie drops down into P5 after previously being P4. He is technically still P4, though, with Ragnar with those 3 seconds. Oh, big spin there by Cringe! And that is definitely cringe-worthy. Ragnar here looking for an overtake. Of course, on Brad. Inkstar is just pulling away with this, really. The man who sits 6th will be some big points scored on his teammates. Depth Knights, of course, with those 3 seconds as well, Depth Knights. But I'm interested to see what Ragnar can perform up against Brad, as now he's going to look down the inside. Look at the straight line speed that he's got. Oh, no! Safety car! Was that after or before? Cringe DNF'd. I just want to see where he DNF'd, though. Oh, into the wall he went. That's clearly on purpose. I can just tell that's on purpose. If you're listening to this right now and you're a driver, if you want to retire, do it in the pit lane. Just please don't be annoying and run it into the wall like an annoying person and setting off the safety car when there shouldn't even be one off. Just don't do that. You just ruin it for everybody. But it's definitely ruined it for Inkstar, because previously had a 5-second gap to the top. Now that will disintegrate. I mean, of course, Ragnar with 3 seconds. It definitely helps him in some way, Ink. But Aussie's looking for that P1. He has so far climbed up the order like a knife through butter. He's got to climb through just some more, and when he does climb above those, then he can finally proclaim his P1. Then You can look down on weeks in the championship. By the way, when I was talking about Chris Towns being P1 in the championship, yeah, that's probably not going to happen now. Oh, big mistake here. Oh, no, never mind. It's just ink with a pit. That scared me for a second. I thought he had a big mistake. Of course, Ozzy's looking to pit as well soon. He's on the medium tyres. This is mostly why he's actually been overtaking people, because most people are on the hards. So that's mostly why he's been cutting through drivers' defences with ease. He will have to pit shortly, though. And very shortly, Ragnar is P1. He will eventually drop down the order. But right now, he can be happy as on track. He's currently faster than everybody else. But very soon, Brad will be stalking him like a hawk. I'm just looking down the order here. I think the safety car will get underway in about a lap or maybe 2. So this is the perfect time for all of you to get your little snacks. Get your crisps. Make yourself a crisp sandwich. Why don't you? I had one this morning. Absolutely lovely jubbly. Put your Walker's cheese and onion straight onto their best flavour, by the way. Cheese and onion. If you say anything else, I'm sorry, but you're just a bit weird. Prawn cocktail is very good. That's second. It's second, definitely. Cheese and onion, though, it's supreme. And trust me, I'm fat, so I would know. So you get your cheese and onion Walker's crisps, bang it onto a buttered slice of bread, and then put on another bit of bread without any butter, by the way. You want only one side with butter. Just bang it on there. Enjoy a cheeky sandwich. Just absolutely banging. So do that right now, why don't you? And then come back, and whilst you're tasting the zingy flavours of cheese and onion Walker's crisps, you can also enjoy some cheeky battling, some cheeky overtakes, and some great racing content here. Brought to you by RWSRL. That is our Twitch username. I believe we have a YouTube. If we do, that's most likely the same. We also have a TikTok as well, the same. And that's actually how you can access our account. If you go onto RWSRL TikTok, we will have in the description a link to our server. Click that link, go straight to our server, become a driver. Do you know what I mean? Be a cheeky driver. Maybe you could win a championship here and I'd be calling you champion of the world. So. Safety car, I think, will come in at the end of this lap. No, Chris Town still needs to catch up. If any of you are back with your cheese and onion Walker's crisps, with your crisp sandwich, then oh, lovely jubbly. In fact, even if you drive it, just let your AI take over, and then you just make your sandwich. Lovely jubbly. Oh, maybe not do it right now because the safety car is in this lap. Don't listen to what I said about making yourself a cheeky crisp sandwich. I'm sure these overtakes there will be just as tasty as some crisp sandwiches as we get underway here in Mexico for the RWSRL Mexican Grand Prix. And, well, Ragnar's leading the way with the 3-second time penalty. Brad shortly behind, and he's technically P1 so far. Brad, though, off the exit. Is he going to get overtaken here by Ozzy? I think he will, and so far it's not good for Harry. He instantly drops down the order. We can't really see what he's done there. Still, though, in the slipstream is Ozzy. Can he go down the inside, maybe? I think he'll go for it. He does go for it. Just very defensive there, Brad, you can see. Into the next turn, he's given a ton of room. You can see General Jake looking for an overtake there on the Ferrari, but the overtake for Ozzy is done and dusted. You can see now Brad looking for that overtake. General Jake side by side here with Codfish, and just lightly taps the back of Brad there, Codfish, and eventually General Jake has to back off of that overtake, and Codfish still has P4, despite those 3 seconds, of course. Chris Towns with an overtake on James. This back 4 is very close with each other, isn't it? And Chris Towns with an overtake there on James Calaco. See Callum here looking for a down the inside there of Remix. Great overtake from him. He moves. Oh, big connection between the two. But now here comes Inkstar flying through. Maybe going to go down the inside of the Ferrari as well. I think he will. Down the inside they go. A little bit of a connection. Somehow Inkstar doesn't spin, but I think he might lose a position here. As here we go. Look at the battling on the back here. Another Red Bull flying into the back of someone. They almost spin, but there's DJ Flux and Remix side by side going off the exit of that last turn. Now on to the straight. Who has the straight line speed to compete with everybody else? It's going to be Death Knights. Look at the speed he has. He might fly past Remix. And I think he will. Down the inside he goes. Maybe on that Mercedes as well. No. Remix with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Definitely not going to help him out. Chris Downs, though, on the back of this, looking for a move on Remix. He will get that move on Remix. DJ Flux now looking for a move on Death Knights. Side by side into Sector 2. Who's going to come out on top? I think that's DJ Flux. Just a clean sweep overtake. General Jake looking for an overtake. He's been staring down Codfish's back for quite a while here. And I think eventually the move will be done and dusted. But Callum may look for that move first on General Jake. And if so, would of course into Aussie. I didn't notice Aussie up into P2, and now currently right now he's P1 and would definitely be in contention on this straight to just be P1 on track. There's another two Ferraris battling it out with each other. Any drama between the two? I don't think so. I feel like just round the outside there goes Codfish. Doesn't necessarily help him out, does it? DJ Flux with a fast lap. The fastest lap as well. Jake, can he finally get this overtake that he's been itching for quite some time here on the Ferrari? He's going to look down the inside into the first turn here. Can the Haskar reign supreme over the Reds of Ferrari? No, he's going to have to stay behind. DJ Flux now looking to poke his nose somewhere, sniffing out an opportunity, but no, he has to stay behind also. So just still with that straight line speed, nobody can quite sort out an overtake. And General Jake there, still stuck into P6. Definitely not what he wants, but down the inside he could lose a position here to DJ Flux. Down the inside there goes DJ Flux as they enter through the S's. Does get that overtake done and dusted, swooped through. Callum with a 3-second time penalty. The penalty starting to come in now. Ragnar on track P1, but we know that's not the same off track. And you can see Inkstar getting very close here for an overtake. Down the inside he goes there on General Jake. And I think General Jake just has to stay in P8. Oh, he stays in the wall and he's out of the Grand Prix. Is that a safety car? It is. The front right wheel being absolutely ripped off. There's a woman in the standings apparently loving it. I definitely don't, so I don't know why she is. But, nevertheless, General Jake out of the Mexican Grand Prix. Unfortunate for him. Did so well in qualifying. Never quite the same, though, with qualifying. And, of course, the race itself. Two people in the pit lane. That is James Calaco and Remix. And, well, Aussie, right now, he would still have a very good gap to top spot. That's around 19 points off of week C going into Brazil. Will be definitely better. That's 26. In fact, it is 26 right now. On track, it's, of course, the 19 points. But right now, he is currently winning and has been winning this Grand Prix. If he can keep his composure until the very end, then that will most likely be done and dusted with, as Aussie would gap himself from top spot by quite a few bits. And no penalty that time for speeding in the pit lane. Callum, though, inherits P1 after people diving into the pit lane. That includes Aussie, Ragnar, Brad, and DJ Flux, I believe. So now they come out of the pit lane. Now Aussie on the soft. So he's really getting aggressive here in Mexico. Does Ragnar follow suit? I don't know. Let me see. I think so. Let me see. Yeah, on the softs. Definitely. So they're opting for a very aggressive strategy. So is Brad. DJ Flux are not the same. But they're going to be interesting to see how the soft drivers, not in terms of, don't make that day, but not in terms of they're not looking to go for moves, in terms of the soft compound tyres in which they go on, how they're going to differentiate themselves as they go around the turns of Mexico. But Callum is P1 right now. Are on track. He is P1. It would be Inkstar technically off track. So Inkstar putting himself right in the mix here near the end of the Grand Prix. And near the end, it's around 10 laps left of still entertainment. I mean, like, this is going to be the last time I'm going to mention it. We went 5 wide. 5 wide on the start of the Mexico. What did I see? Do you know? Callum in the pit lane. That's what I am seeing right now. Sorry, that's not Callum. That's Codfish. Oh, sorry. That was Codfish. My apologies. And Codfish in the pit lane. His teammate, though, Callum P1. And right now, Inkstar would win the Grand Prix. And Red Bull, this would be key points for them to try and close up that gap to Aston Martin, as it currently is. By the way, if you didn't get your chance earlier to make your crisp sandwich, then right now's the opportunity to. So, go ahead and make yourself one. Cheese and onion, by the way, nothing else. Nothing else. Has to be cheese and onion, mate. I'm telling you. Oh, big spin there by Inkstar himself, so he's not P1 anymore. Big spin. That's another spin under the safety car. We've seen that a couple of times. This time the curse has struck towards Ink. And Chris Towns now inherits P1. This would not mean that he would be P1 in the standings, because Aussie's right there with him. And we would close down the gap to Aussie, but he's not actually going to be P1 in the standings. Sorry. I'm really sorry for that. That was disgusting. Oh, that was disgusting. Jesus. But I'm thinking that it will be a Chris Towns win. There's still lots left to go here in the next 10 laps or so. But I do feel like at the end of this, Chris Towns is just going to overtake Depth Lights and just will stay close to Callum, and then the Aston Martin will win the Grand Prix. That is my prediction. Let me know yours, in fact, in the Twitch chat. I would like to read them, because I usually express my views, but I don't necessarily see others when I'm commentating. So it would be nice to just check up to see what you guys think, what's happened so far. And the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. So if you haven't made your crisp sandwich by now, you're kind of screwed, mate. I'm gonna be honest, you're kind of screwed. You really got to finish that quickly. Cheese and onion, remember, if you've put prawn cocktail on there, I'm not as disappointed. If you put salt and vinegar on there, though, I'm slapping you. I'm going to slap you. Awful. Salt and vinegar is awful. We can all agree on that. One cut on your lip and you're done. You're done when you eat salt and vinegar crisps. Anyways. I'm sure that no one is as distasteful as salt and vinegar crisps, as we now will go back to green here in the Mexican Grand Prix. Callum leads the way, despite with 3 seconds on the clock. Same for Depth Knights. And when Callum gonna go? When is he gonna put full throttle? He's put it now, he's put it now, he's put it now! Now on the exit here, I think Depth Knights has read that brilliantly. As we go onto the straight here, he's definitely closing down the gap, but is he gonna close down enough here as we go shortly into turn 1? I don't think he's gonna look for it, he can't look for it, I don't think. Maybe, just maybe, will he go for it down the inside? Will he go? He will go down the inside. Depth Knights with the move potentially being performed here. I think he'll have to go for a switchback though. On the Ferrari, no, he has to stay behind. He can't do anything about that. Depth Knights has to stay behind. Ragnar here, though, could definitely look for a mover on Chris Towns. Down the inside, soft versus mediums. Round the outside now goes Ragnar. Goes off the track. With this battling, will Aussie end up into P4 or P3 potentially? As you can see there, Chris Towns having to back off, and I think just letting Aussie through, as now he will no longer be under pressure. That is that is like 300 IQ there from Chris Towns, because technically right now Aussie would win the Grand Prix. That is absolutely humongous IQ there from Chris Towns. He's now looking to defend a position against Inkstar. 300 IQ from Chris Towns as Aussie is now leading the Grand Prix despite 3 people ahead of him. I mean, that is just that is actually a great piece of work there by his teammate Chris Towns. A team player nevertheless. And now Brad here looking to affect the team of Red Bull as he goes down the inside of the Red Bull there. Inkstar looking to still defend this position, but Brad comfortably gets the position done and dusted here, but DJ Flux might get 2 positions in 1. Is he though? I think into the next turn, I think Brad's just about going to be able to get the position done and dusted with. Into the next one now, down the inside, DJ Flux. Brad goes off the track. Bit of a connection there behind with James Calaco and Codfish. I think that's a little bit of wing damage, in fact. Brad, though, still getting very close to DJ Flux here. Into the S's now. Definitely not performing those out to the best he can. And now it's DJ Flux who is still P6. It's Inkstar who could look for a move. Is he going to lunge? He's not going to lunge. Keeps behind into this one. Now, round the last turn. Is he going to get DRS? Is that allowed? No, he can't get DRS. He can't get DRS just yet. Callum on track P1. Same with Depth Knights. Depth Knights P2 on track and Ragnar P3 on track. Can't be all P1 on track at the same time. But on that straight then, nobody really able to look for an overtake. Brad losing time to DJ Flux even. Aussie right now is the leader of the Grand Prix. Yeah, again, that 300 IQ move is just absolutely well classed by Chris Towns. I mean, all Aussie has to do is just to make sure he keeps close to Depth Knights, basically. And if Depth Knights keeps close to Callum and so forth, easy. Easy win. Easy stroll. But Callum, P1 on track so far. His teammate Codfish is P11, last on the grid. Ragnar with a 3-second time penalty. See DJ Flux there with very close to Chris Towns just ahead here. Chris Towns pulling off an Alonso. You can just see right now though that Alpine behind Brad really getting involved now. We go on to the straight. Brad's going to have the better straight line speed, and that's clearly being shown. Oh, is it being shown? It is being shown now. He's got the speed. He's got the DRS hovering around the 2/10 zone. He's not going to get it. Death Knights might go for the move though. Down the inside he goes for first place on track here. Callum defending the position though, as maybe Death Knights will go for a switchback maneuver here. Maybe Ragnar will be caught up in all of this and maybe he will look for a move. But for the first time in about 2 laps, these three could be going at it here. Death Knights with potentially another dive down the inside. No, he has to keep it clean and tidy throughout both of these turns. He does keep it clean and tidy. And Callum still P1 on track. Death Knights looking for a move, can't get a move, and he is still stuck in P2. Brad, though, he's been searching for an overtake on Chris Towns for quite some time. These S's he does not perform well at. Of course, gets DRS on the end of this, though. This tiny little straight. No overtaking position there. So, really, those S's, if he improves on those S's, then he can overtake Chris Towns in a moment's notice. Just Chris Towns much better on those S's. And that is just about what's keeping him in front of Brad himself there. And look at that. On the straight, we're going to watch this from the view of Aussie there as Ragnar pulls ahead of Death Knights. Death Knights, though, losing 2 positions in 1 potentially, with Aussie going side by side with him. Maybe he'll get 2 moves in 1, actually, Aussie. We might go 3 wide into the first turn. No, it's only 2 wide there between Death Knights and Ragnar. Into the next one as well. This battling, where's it going to end in all of this? Maybe a switchback maneuver. No! Big spin there by Aussie. How far is he going to drop down to? It definitely won't be near the range of Remix. But that's huge from Aussie. And now, Ragnar and Death Knights going toe-to-toe. But Aussie, big mistake, put on the throttle too early. Was too eager to perform the switchback. And now, found himself in the grass. And now finds himself in P9. Ink looking for an overtake here on Chris Towns. Maybe Chris Towns will lose 2 positions in about 2 corners. Now, down the inside, potentially no. Here's DJ Flux, though. Down the inside, there he goes on Death Knights. That's a massive dive bomb there. Another big dive bomb. And now here comes the Alpine of Brad. He swoops around the outside of Death Knights. He's currently P3. I don't know if he would win the Grand Prix. I don't think so. But that's a 300 IQ move there from Chris Towns. Just doesn't. What am I going to bet? I mean, if Chris Towns does get P1 in the in this race, he would be P2, the championship standings, with only 1 point off as he straight into the back there of Death Knights. Has to be a bit careful here to make sure he doesn't earn himself a 3-second time penalty. But now going on to this straight here, he'll look for the move into the chicane. I would call it a chicane. I mean, it's not necessarily as tight as a chicane is, but I would call it a chicane. Down the inside, and no, nothing really for the Aston Martin there. He looks behind him, and he sees Ink and James Kalako queuing up for and waiting for a mistake from Chris Towns himself. Callum, though, with this position, he would win the Grand Prix. I believe. Hold on. My maths. Yeah, he will win the Grand Prix right now. Would definitely win the Grand Prix. I mean, if Death Knights gets an overtake on Brad soon, then that would solidify itself in first place. Just comes down to the end of this Grand Prix, which is only 2 laps left. And there goes Aussie with a free overtake there on Inkstar. But Callum right now just about with P1. But will DJ Flux get P2 as DJ Flux and Ragnar battling side by side? And that is a clean sweep overtake there by DJ Flux. Ragnar, I don't know how he's managed to fall off so hard there with those soft tyres, but he's managed to do it. Brad now just might be hovering around the 1 second zone between Ragnar and DJ Flux himself. But so far, it's been good for Callum. He might just about edge for P1 here. We'll have to see it in these upcoming 2 laps as James looking for an overtake very soon here on Aussie. And a little bit of a bump to the back of that Aston Martin. Not going to affect him too much, though, as we go through the S's in Mexico. And I don't think he's going to get the move. Maybe he will, though. He's getting very close in these S's. If you master the S's, then you can master the overtakes. Here he goes. On to the DRS, on to the short straight. Maybe around the outside. Switchback manoeuvre here from... Oh, that's a great switchback manoeuvre. Fair enough, James. That was a great switchback manoeuvre. I don't know if he'll keep it or not. Is he going to keep it? Into the last turn. This is a great battling between James and Chris Towns. Onto the straight, though. He's got DRS here, James. So surely into the first turn, he'll get the overtake. See that? Just too much speed, I think, for Aston Martin to handle here. Oh, big connection between the two. Down the inside, James goes. Oh, turning in on James. That's not the clean racing I was seeing just before. Aussie with another free position from that connection. And that switchback manoeuvre doesn't look so good right now, does it? Right now, Callum is P1 with around a lap to go. Let me actually take a look here. It's a gap to the leader. Yeah, there you go. So 5 seconds off Brad is. He needs to get 2 seconds within, which means he has to be practically P3. And right now, Callum would win the Mexican Grand Prix. Definitely not a winner I would have expected at all, really, as Callum is P9 in the standings with only 28 points. So that is nearly a 95% increase on his current amount of points. And honestly, going into this Grand Prix, I'm thinking definite easy win for Mr. Aussie. But it just doesn't seem that way. He had a struggle right until the very end of qualifying, Aussie. He started P2, made a mistake in the pit lane with those 5-second time penalty, made another mistake, and it's all tied in into many people inheriting P1, and not for a long time as they were easily overtaken. Callum hasn't, though. He's been the only person to collect P1 and keep it and have a stable lead from it all the time here in Mexico in these last few laps. Right when he claimed P1 from people in the pit lane on the safety car, he clearly shown why he deserves this P1. As now he will go around the last few turns here in Mexico. The Ferrari performing brilliantly here. And in the Mexican Grand Prix, Callum, round the last turn, Callum wins the Mexican Grand Prix. Congratulations to the Ferrari as he shot himself up into P1 and kept P1 for a substantial amount of time. And it paid off for him. A satisfactory win. And he will satisfy that with a potential overtake on Megan in the championship. Maybe for DJ Flux, I don't think so, as he finished third. But the main headline is that Callum victorious in Mexico. Well, great win from Callum, but in terms of standings wise, Aussie 5th, definitely not the best he could have performed. I think that's around 8 points. So the gap between Weeksy isn't going to be as wide as I expected it to be. Ragnar picks up driver of the day, but that's not necessarily important right now, as Weeksy is still well within this championship battle after this Grand Prix. Going into Brazil, it's going to be even more spicy than we saw. Maybe not a 5 wide then, going into the first turn, but nevertheless, it's always entertaining out in Brazil. Unfortunately, we won't watch that instantly after this. That is not going to be until a week after, unfortunately. But for today, Callum takes top spot as he sprays red champagne across everybody on the grid. He actually started P1 and ends P1. Shaky start, of course, on that Grand Prix from P1, dropped way down the order, but he's built himself back up to earn the victory. Ferrari, Mercedes and Ferrari, Mercedes and Alpine finish off that podium. And here were the final standings for today's entertaining Mexican Grand Prix. Callum finished off in P1 and claims the Mexican trophy as Brad was in P2. DJ Flux P3, Depth Knights P4, Aussie P5, James Calaco P6, Ragnar P7, Chris Downs P8, Inkstar P9, Remix P10, Codfish P11, Jake P12, Harry P13, Cringe P14, Anthony P15, Maka P16, James P17, Game Changer P18, JJ P19, Cyclone P20. General Jake and below, all DNF from today's Grand Prix. Thank you all for watching and what has been a very entertaining Grand Prix, to say the least. Thank you all for listening or watching. I've been your commentator, Harrison Wilson. You will have a beautiful night. Good night.